Hello everyone, this is Dark Joe, and today I'm going to be doing something different. I'm going to be doing a tier list for just off meta units. Pretty much like a lot of these people who do like tier list type of thing, a lot of them always like put pretty much almost every one of these units here on like the trash tier or like the F tier or whatever it is, like, or don't bother tier. And as someone who actually plays off meta, and I've played with most of these units, I wouldn't say most. I've played with a lot of these units that I actually know how strong said unit really is, so I can kind of gauge it really better. This is in RTA aspects too. Keep in mind that every one of these units on here, even if I were to put it right here in very underrated in S tier, I wouldn't suggest to go crazy for them, like immediately build them. I'm just saying that some of these units might need to actually have you might need to actually think more about potentially using them, because like some of these units, and like I might put in S, aren't as bad as people are saying. Now A is like, so that's what S is for. Like if I put them on there, I think they're better than what people are really saying. Same with A. Like I'm saying, like if I put them in A, they're like a little bit better than what people are saying. I don't think they're trash units. Like B is like, they're pretty much like good. They're good. They're fun units basically. And then like C is kind of just wait for them to get buffed, or for three stars. Some of the 3 stars might just be on here, might just be a special change needed. And like, if I put them in below average or trash, that means, yeah, as someone who plays off meta and plays fun stuff, don't, like, I'll tell you, they're not really usable. I mean, maybe some people can do a weird comp of them, but, and I know what most of these units do offhand, so, and I'm only including the units that I think a lot of people are saying are generally bad, like trash tier. I'm not including like units that have a purpose type of thing. Even if you don't see them, like for example, Gazelle's a unit that people also say is trash, but like she's a really good like arena. You can technically use her in arena and like guild wars and stuff, and that is some people do pick her in RTA outside of me. So I don't count that. I don't count units that like you generally will see sometimes. Like you sometimes see Cowrick, sometimes you see Arby in like very and against very heavy cleave comps type of thing. You sometimes see this Champions Dorado. So I'm not including the units that you sometimes do see, even if you don't see them often, like Tomoko or Cdom. So I'm including the units that you almost never ever see. Though, I mean, I did put some in there that you might see, like Luna, but like and stuff. But let me just go down here and I'll just show you. I just go through it now. So, like for example, Adley, 85% chance to reset enemies. I think his soul burn. I don't know if the soul burn was extra turn or it was ignore effect res, but I do remember. I think it was ignore effect res. But the fact that he's 85% chance means that he's basically the free version of Judge Kisei. But I don't believe he strips. He strips one buff, I believe. So, like Adley, I would probably put in average. I think the big thing with him is his speed isn't very good. He does get like resets whenever an ally dies, so he's actually not terrible as the match goes on. But again, he's a 3 star, so he's really squishy. So he's probably never going to get resets anyways. He'll probably be the first person on your team to die anyways. So I will put him average for now. Ainz, from my memory, he has built-in counter in his kit, and if his S1 is like 50% chance to automatically crit, and then his S3 is a 2-turn stun, which is good because there's like only, I think there's only two. I think Ainz and Winter are the only 2 units in the game that has no, Ainz, Winter, and I think Wanda are the 3 units that have 2-turn stuns. I don't know. Does Wanda 2-turn stun? I think she does. I just used her like yesterday, but I can't believe I forgot already. But like, yeah, but Ainz has a 2-turn stun with built-in counter and can crit on a 50% chance to proc. He is a decent statted warrior, so he can be kind of fun. I want to say the thing about him is he does very little. His attack's kind of low. I think he's a Libra warrior, so he has pretty good bulk. I want to say he's kind of good. Like he has potential. Actually, no, that's what I should name this. Not good. Like they have potential type of thing, right? So that's what I'll put. Not good. Their potential, like underrated. Basically, these are the two categories. I think I actually know they're actually better than they look. So Aether. I've used Aether a few times. I don't have him built right now, but I had him built for a bit, multiple times. He's a fun. Gives a barrier on his S2. No, he CR pushes on his he gives a barrier and a CR push on his S2 with like heal on his S3 or maybe the other way around. Anyways, he's not the greatest. He's good for like when you're first starting out if you don't have Angelica, but I kind of want to say average though. Oxlots. Actually, you know what? Some of these units like Oxlots, everyone generally knows how good or bad they are. I'm just gonna put them over there. Same with let me see. Well, I'll just get down to the list when I get down there. You actually, this is a very very strong counter to Straze. If you decide to go for like a 25k one to counter Straze, I've seen people do that before. Actually, kind of fun to do on Elbrus as well. It has built-in lifesteal, can S3 into S1. Can be really annoying. I wouldn't put him in potential. I've had this person built twice, Cartuja. I've used him a few times. He's got good bulk. He's fun because you give him Durandal, he constantly pushes because he has like built-in Durandal. Plus, you give him that, he can push up for like 40-something% CR push. So it's really fun, but like his damage is so bad. He doesn't offer anything but an attack down on his S3. I think he has provoke on his S1, but like no, he bleeds on his S1, I believe. Or I might be thinking of Fat Cat that used to bleed, but I don't. But he it's like a provoke or a bleed, and it's attack down. He needs more damage. That's what it is. He needs more damage or a little bit more utility. Then maybe he can go up more. But like his stats is fine. It's just his attack is so bad with no utility for the team. Ricorous is usually only seen in PVE. I remember it. I don't think they changed. I don't remember seeing him like ever. I don't actually remember what this last buff was that he got like not that far ago. I think they made him into a more damage dealer, but his damage is not very good. I don't think his attack scaling is very good either, even with all that. So they dropped a lot of his bulk down. I'm gonna go below average for RTA. This is what this is kind of like for. This is like an RTA potential for some of these off meta like units and stuff. I mean, he may be good in PvE, but like as far as actual RTA goes, no. Basar, I'd say potential. I think the biggest thing is the fact that he's like 108 speed. I think he's 108. Obviously, ignore effect res, CR pushback with unbuffable is still very very huge. So actually, you know what? Maybe I'll go underrated. Because you pick him last pick in a comp that can really screw against a comp that really can get screwed over by Bazaar. He's guaranteed a last pick. I think he's a little bit underrated actually. Broman 112 base speed, I believe. Strip into silence, so fun potential with Euphine. But I think his silence wasn't 100% either. I'd go average, actually. I don't think he's that good. You could build him on a counter set. I think you can S1 into extra proc as well off a counter. But, like, there's so much anti-AoE in this game, or anti-debuffs, that you almost can never get a chance to use this. I mean, same with Bazaar, but like, if you last pick this, even against a comp that can get screwed by it, they're just going to say, okay, well, we're going to do silence me, I just don't do anything for one turn. This is a huge though, because this like sets the enemy team back. So Batiste, he has attack down. He has the extra attack. I think he could work on a counter. I think he can S1 into extra proc on S2 off of a counter. He actually might be fine with Euphine Artifact. I have never tried that before with what was it called? Holiday Euphine's Artifact. But I think it could have a chance to like double stun, and it should count for his AoE extra attack proc for the stun. I believe. I think he has potential. I wanted to build him. He's one of the units I kind of wanted to build. A lot of the people on here are probably units I either wanted to build at one point, or maybe there might actually be one we'll be working on soon. And Bosk, I think he's just too slow. If he was faster, he might be fine. But I think he had 3-turn immunity or 3-turn, yeah, 3-turn. Like I think it was like a 3-turn immunity and a 3-turn barrier or something like that. But he's like 98 base speed for a knight, and you want immunity. If you want your immunity, you want that to be fast. So it's like no. I tried to rebuild ML Haste recently, and because like with all the like anti-crit going on, I thought maybe hey, if you build like an ML Haste and you can get to the point that his S3 does like 9,000 damage, you can like chunk down half of an ML Landy's health or something like that, and it'll just be like really like potentially good. But honestly, like his damage is like his S3 damage is fine. His heal is pretty good. Obviously his passive is really good. But everyone who wants to use revive, it's like what A Robbie and Destina, the two main ones you run into that have revive. Sometimes you see Ruel, sometimes you see Celine. It's really just those two. I'm just gonna put him on average. Actually, no, he's below average. He's honestly, even in off meta standards, I don't know. He needs something more. Charles, I use Charles still. I think Charles is fun. Charles still has potential. I still think I don't think he's underrated because he needs so much more bulk. You need to make him an HP scaler, at least, and then maybe give him some pen. He's like so inferior to Chu. Corvus, I actually wanted to play Corvus, but with how easy it is to debuff high ER units nowadays, and the fact that they kind of nerfed him down, I'm gonna just put him average. Crozet, potential. Honestly, I've always thought Blue Crozet was fun. Being able to give an ally like a pretty decent sized barrier plus a 2-turn defense buff every turn that he has, because it's a 1-turn cooldown. It's really huge. I've actually won so many matches like last season because when I had him build last season. Really fun unit. I definitely think he has potential still, but wouldn't want to put him in underrated though, because like if you compare him to any other knight, meta knight, he's still so inferior to other of the meta knights out there now. Dingo, I thought about building him as an ER build, to counter all the openers, the deep effectiveness openers. I also thought about building him on a counter set before, like do a counter if we can go S1, S2. I think his problem is, honestly, it's his stats, really. I think he gets crit rate off of his imprint, so he doesn't have the problem with getting crit. But I think his bulk is very, like, kind of weak, though. His attack isn't very good. I like the idea of his S3, though, and he can actually work pretty well if you have, like, a really high ER Dingo to fight Lua, because then you could just go, S3 and then give your team back a, their cooldowns again right after that. But it's like, they make him fast, make him your fastest unit, and still have all that bulk, all that ER plus bulk. It's like, it's just not worth it. I'm gonna put him in average. Elson, attack buff, defense buff in one ability is definitely like really, really strong. It could definitely be really strong. It's just that his rest of his kit is so bad. And I believe his attack buff, debuff. No, I think is that the one that no, it's the S3 that has a heal, I think, or the S2 has a heal, but it's also a AOE attack, so it can be like really bad to proc counters and stuff. Like I don't know why they made his heal an AOE, because that just makes him. That just makes it so easy to counter him, though. Enot. Normally you would think I'd probably put Enot here, but actually he isn't terrible with Ahmed, because his ability gets him 50%. His attack buff ability, his non-attack skill gives him 50% CR push, so it works with Ahmed. So, and he can give himself crit buff, so he can, only build 50% crit. His damage isn't the worst. I just put him below average. I think if he got better stats, a little bit higher damage scaling, and maybe one little more utility push, he might be somewhat usable in RTA and for the actual people to use him. But this, Irvelin's kind of like a worse Hoyoung even now, and Hoyoung's still bad. So I'm going to put him there for now. I actually never thought about using Blue Furious, so I'm just going to assume in RTA standards of what does he give? Gives a team a crit buff and Death Break, I believe, on his S3, but single target. I don't remember if he strips or not. I'd say below average, honestly. I don't think he's going to have any use. So Glenn, I don't think this is SC Glenn, but just assume this is SC Glenn. I actually think no. Oh wait, no, hold on. Wait, SC Glenn's down there. This is SC Glenn. All right, so Glenn, I actually wanted to use him before. I think he has potential. So I'm gonna put him there. I've always wanted to build him. I don't actually have his SC done yet, so he's one of the SCs I'm missing still. Ian, 118 base speed with gives a whole team attack buff with a strip and blind debuff on a ranger, so you can hold guy in light. Honestly, I think he's underrated for sure. I think he's underrated. Like I said, 118 base speed, so he's pretty fast. He hold guy in light. Has a strip in his kit with blind debuff, which is a massive debuff. Attack buff is huge. I think he gets himself skill nullifier too, so he can survive any physical counters type of thing. But I think he's pretty solid though. I think with a specialty change, people will start. If he gets a specialty change and he gets a little more utility and a bit more base stats, maybe like 4 more speed at least, I think people will start picking him up and he'll be a meta unit. But right now, I think he's just underrated. Haatan, I believe this is the HP scaling unit that gives speed buff to your team. I don't remember I think it was like low. It was like 114 or something like that base speed. Or no, this could have been the 120 speed. I don't know, but even so, he's speed scaling and he gets himself speed buff. But I think this is the one that also, if he kills someone on his S3, it like fully resets, so it could have potential. But I think I saw his damage was like bad. But I don't think he's unusable. Like, I don't think you can't, like, actually get him to work. So I'm going to put him here. Oh, yeah, it might be Muchacha. I don't know. This one also is kind of like that similar, too. I think this is also a speed scaling unit that, like, has built-in passes that speeds him up or something like that. He's, like, the full speed one. So, like, later on, he can be, like, in the middle of a match. He can be really fast, but I don't remember... No, I'm gonna put you in trash. I'm gonna put you here because I remember you being a speed imprint. So your speed imprint, you're right here. I don't remember what this is. I don't think this is speed imprint. I want to say it's not. Harado, kind of similar than Basar. I think the problem with him is he's 3 stars, so squishy. I think he's 100% proc rate though, and I think his S3. And I think his soul burn was extra turn. So I think he's basically just a Basar that doesn't have ignore effect res. But I think, yeah, he does cut healing, I believe, right? He cuts healing by like 50% of the enemy team. And I think he can't be pushed back. So I kind of want to put him on high potential. I think he has some uses. You could probably pull him out in some fun comps. I don't think he is bad. I mean, honestly, people do pick him every once in a while. I have seen him, but at least back then, like 2 years ago, people picked him. Ooh, okay, it's a Jacked. I actually did play Jacked a bit. I know Jacked pretty well. He has built-in Wondrous Potion Vial. He is a speed imprint. He has, I think his S3 has a heal, and his S3 was heal. Like, he heals you and gives you continuous healing for like 2 turns. I don't remember what his S1 is. I think it was blind. But he at the end of his turn, he cleanses 1 debuff. And then, like, Potion Valor obviously doesn't at the beginning of the turn. So if you give him Potion Valor, he'll basically every one of his turns he'll cleanse 2 debuffs off of a random ally. So I think he's fun. I won't say below average. Well, yeah, I won't say below average. I think he has. I think of a special change he could be probably put up to underrated, but Kiki Rat. I'm gonna say potential. I've seen enough of him. He's fun, but I don't. He definitely is not. He's definitely not underrated. I wouldn't like these are people here. I would kind of suggest to maybe look into more. These are like units that like I think either I or have them built. Like for example, obviously I have Charles built. Everyone else here, it's like I kind of want to build at some point. Green lots. Honestly, I almost want to put green lots in underrated, but I'm gonna put him in potential, like higher potential. I think he's a really bulky 4-star green Soul Weaver, so he doesn't have any cleanses in this kit. That's the only problem he has. But he works really well with if you have a spare Ahmed's artifact, because the whole when you use 2 debuffs or use 2 skills, 2 non-tech skills, the ability procs. He works really well with that. He's the only he actually can S2 himself and get a whole extra turn. So he works really well with Doctor's Bag because of that. He has decent healing, I believe. S2 being a 2-turn cooldown of 100% CR push is really, really nice. I think he is basically. I think it's just the meta. The meta right now just doesn't make him like really all that usable. The only time you do see him is every once in a while you might see like Ox lots in like a double lots comp, or you'll see him sometimes in like Guild War, but you don't really see him in RTA. I think he has potential, so I'll put him here. I think one buff and he'll be underrated for sure. Fire Kawazu. Was it 6,000 health? He had pretty good attack, and he had okay attack. He had pretty good bulk. I think he might be Libra Warrior. I think so. He has really good bulk, no crit rate built in, but he's really. I think he'd be really fun on counter set. I think his S1 gives him an X% chance. I think it was 20, 30%, like 30%. I think to CR push up. And when he gets hit with an AoE attack that debuffs him, he cleanses himself and gives himself attack buff. So he has built-in, he's built-in self-sufficient in that case. I think the issue with him is his damage is low. I think it's 1.5 on his S3 with a Death Break. So he doesn't offer enough. I do want to build him though. So I think he has potential though. But like I wouldn't call him like an average unit. I definitely wouldn't really necessarily call him trash compared to other trash units. Fire Ken. Yeah, he's on potential. I don't know. No, he's definitely on potential though. I've used him a few times. We all probably seen him every once in a while, but I mean maybe not lately, but we've probably seen enough of him in the past that we know generally how he is. I mean, his buff was good on him, but it's definitely not going to be enough. Like, why would you ever use Fire Ken when you can just use Fire Ravi if you want to go for, like, an off-meta Fire Bruiser? Blaze Dingo? I'd say average. I think he's just too slow. He doesn't have enough bulk. He's good support, though. But it's so weird because you want to make him bulky enough to get his turn. But at the same time, you kind of lose out on his damage because it's hard to get him like decent speed, decent enough bulk not to get one-shotted, and then good damage. Especially with his attack being like 900 base or something like that, or even less than that. I don't know. You could definitely work with him. I've seen Blaze Dingo like destroy people before, but I haven't seen anyone pull Blaze Dingo out, in the past season or two. Ray used to be the fastest Soul Weaver until I think he's still was it 114 or 117 is his base speed? I think he's slower than Ahmed now, but I remember him. I think he's 114 base speed, and then Ahmed's 117. But he's the fastest cleansing, healing support, I believe, Soul Weaver. So obviously he still has potential. Honestly, he's not really trashed here. Fire Haste. I want to put him here because. People he has a lot going for him, Like, you know, he strips on his S3, so he has strip into death break into, well, bleed, I guess, too. But like it strips into death break into uncounterable too. Like that's pretty good. It's just the fact that he's at 120 base speed on he's 120 base speed. So people are going to like, why ever pick him over, you know, Ran, who has 129 plus, can ignore could have ignore effect red silver. So, and then like and then they buffed him. They're like, oh, let's make it his S3 go down in one cooldown. It's like that's still like a 5-turn cooldown. No one's going to survive long enough. No one's haste is going to survive long enough to get a second S3 off. So what was the point of that? I think it's S1. They got rid of the buff steal to like death break, which is, you know, okay, he's better in PvE, but he's useless as hell and kind of in PvP. I just talk myself into average. Okay, I'm putting you there. I think you're good. I didn't put Green Carmen in this section over here because I think Green Carmen is seen a bit more than Purgus. Most people would probably just use Green Carmen over Purgus. So I consider, you know, Green Carmen more meta scene than Purgus. But like as far as Purgus goes, he actually still has potential. He's a warrior, so you can build him on Sacred Scythe or build him on Golden Rose. He's got built-in counter. Mine's on lifesteal for whatever reason, but, you know, he does pretty good damage. You know, stun plus CR pushback plus slow. That's really solid for counters type of thing. Really high chance of counter. Obviously easy to counter and stuff, but I still think he's a fun unit, so I'm putting him there. Blue Roman. He's just basically worse. Broman. I'm putting him there as well, actually. Just put him average. Sven, okay, so Sven, I definitely want to put overrated, underrated for sure. I've seen Sven; he's pretty nice. I don't know if I want to put him here though. He might be. He's okay. He's high underrated because I mean he's not really trash. I've seen enough of him to destroy people. I've never used him myself though. He's one of the units I haven't used. I do want to build him though at some point. So I think he'd be a fun unit to use. This one is this the guard or royal? This is guard. At first I thought Tyranor guard made it so everyone, you know, whenever anyone dual attacks you push up. But I guess I try to build him again, and then like I use him and I'm like, oh wait, it only works when he dual attacks. Which I mean he has high chance of dual attack, sure, but if I really wanted to do that, I could probably just go counter set like Unity set Fire Shuri. Which, I don't know. I'm going to say average in RTA standards. Maybe you can pull him out. I mean, he could do okay damage, I believe, and he's at okay bulk. This one, though, definitely underrated. I've seen Tyranor Royal Guard wreck people, and especially with the combo with, do I not have her? Oh, no, I guess I didn't include her in here, did I? Oh, no, there she is. Ice Dom. I've seen enough of this combo working pretty well. I still think Ice Dom is pretty good. I've actually have people. I'm part of some people's Discord channels, and they actually use Ice Dom, and it's really good. So I'll put Ice Dom in underrated. Not very underrated, but definitely put in underrated. What is it? 121 base speed when you count his EE. So he's pretty fast. He is a ranger, so he can be guiding light. He does strip into bombs, and he has a chance to go into S2 right after that for a proc, but it's random. I think, honestly, yeah, I'll put him there though. I think he's been underrated. But you have to build a team specifically around him. Like he's not someone you're gonna like build. You know, I don't think he's underrated to the point you can just build him and like use him like any time type of thing for sure. Like. I mean, same. A lot of these units are you have to build a team around them, but so Icerado, I'll see potential. I think Icerado has potential mainly for the fact that his S2, so his S2 is built in Caladro basically. So he does 30% extra damage on a debuff unit. It's single target on that ability, so you can put pen set on him. and he could be put on rage set. I've actually thought about doing this before, where you go like 4,000 attack, 300, like close to 300 crit damage, 4,000 attack with like rage set, pen set, and then go bulk afterwards, and then go Caladra, and then just build him with a debuffing team. You just one shot a unit, and then just be semi tanky afterwards. I think he can work with that. Because S2 was like 1.5, I think. I think it's Soul Burn's actually too, so he can go even higher on Soul Burn. So he actually could do decent damage, especially with his if they have a debuff. So I want to put him on here. Fireball. I thought about building a counter Fireball at some point. He does attack 2 units, I believe, all the time. Even his S1 on a counter, I think, does. Most people are not going to change their Fireball, because I think most people are going to have it set for Green Expo. But as far as RTA standards, I think he has. I'm putting him average, actually. I don't know. I think the problem with it is like the only good thing I think that he has that makes him almost in potential would be the fact that his S1. I don't remember if S1 having debuffs on it, but it does hit 2 units, which I think was good enough for me to potentially, put him in potential. But it's so hard to use him with all the debuffs going, with all the counters to debuffs and stuff, and anti-AoEs. You're not really gonna proc. I don't know if you're gonna proc and get many uses off your S3. Mui. Okay, so Mui, I definitely want to put underrated. I think the only thing that's wrong with her is the fact that she's not a ranger. Because like 115 base speed, which is slow to a lot of people's standards, but it's not terrible. You could definitely make a 290 speed something with Mui. I've done it I've done it a few times when I rebuilt her. 290 speed Mui. Really solid S3. Now that it applies. Now that it can also, with the EE, it also gives you enhanced dual attack, which is really huge. I like to use her a lot with CDOM, which I don't think I put CDOM. No, I consider CDOM a kind of a used unit enough. Damn, 32 minutes already. Alright, I'm going to speed through some of this. Just go through what, because I wasn't expecting this. I'm not even I'm like halfway through. I'm like 30 minutes in. Okay. Alright, I'm going to go speed through some of this. Alright. SC Rooted. Speed imprint, CR push, speed buff, decent speed, I think it's like 114 or so. I think his problem is the only main thing about him is he's a speed imprint, so I'm going to put him in average. Fire Soul. With Fire Soul, 119 base speed, you can build him fast, or you can build him damage, you can build him bruiser. I want to say he's potential for sure. Januta, whatever his name is. I think his problem is his stats are too low. His damage was pretty solid. I remember his S3 being 1.5. I don't remember if he had a strip or what his S3 really. I think it was a strip on his S3. But he's he gets focused every time an ally takes a. I don't know if I don't remember if it's every time an ally gets hit by a critical hit, or if every time this ally gets hit. But I remember he gets focus per ally. But I think the big thing holding him back is his base stats. Honestly, Gaither, high potential. I wouldn't say actually underrated. High potential. I use Gaither. I've used multiple forms of Gaither. I've used the full speed support Gaither. I've used full damage Gaither before, and I've used Bruiser Gaither. I have a Bruiser Gaither right now. I want to lean towards. Honestly, I think he's underrated. Because full strip into stun into CR push your highest attack unit and give him an attack buff. And that CR push is 50%. So, I mean, that's pretty huge. It's, S2 being a heal and a barrier on it. I think he's underrated. I think people should potentially think about, he's not just a transmit stone, farm. Mui, I've never actually used him even in Wyvern. I know he pushes up the team. I think he's mini GP, but even GP's not seen as much. I'm going to say average. No, I'm going to say he's kind of bad in form of RTA from what I remember. Tala's, I believe he's the one with the 50% CR, no, 50% crit rate on his passive. He has provoke on his S1, and I believe his S3 was okay damage with extra damage if the enemy is provoked. But I remember he's a focus unit that, like, when he gets 100% focus, when he gets 100 focus, or 100% fighting spirit, whatever it is, he fully, I think he cleanses himself. I don't know about that, but I know he gets a 100% CR push and it resets his S3. I think the big thing with him is his base stats are bad, but I'm going to put him potential, though. Howdy Euphine. Okay, very underrated. I think Howdy Euphine is definitely a unit that I've used her all the time. I think people, I almost didn't want to put her on here because I almost argue that she's seen enough to not be considered a super off meta pick. You know what? No, I do see her enough. I don't know. I use her a lot, but I don't know if you consider her this. No, I think most people don't even put her in trash tier. They put her in like lower tier, but they're not. Yeah, she's not really trash in their eyes, so I won't put her on this list. Soothin, honestly, even with his buff, I never seen him. I know he's basically just a burn version, but I think he's just going to be an inferior carrot, and so he gets a specialty change, which we still think might be he might be the next specialty change, which is going to piss me off if he is. Melissa. No, at this point, it's not potential. It's just average. Like, even with all this, I'm not going to put her in potential. She got buffed like once or twice since like this past like few seasons as well, and like she never really changes. She's never, I don't know. Okay, ML cool. No, ML Furious. Peacemaker Furious. Okay, so this one, honestly, I want to see potential. I'm actually semi working on him as well. I think he'll be fun. The reason why people are saying he's bad is because he's a defense scaling 4-star ranger, and rangers aren't necessarily good for defense. I think like most rangers don't have, like, I don't think any ranger has over 600 defense, and he's a defense scaling unit, so he's got low base stats. I think his speed was okay, but maybe not for a ranger though. I think his damage was okay. His damage wasn't terrible from when I used of him. I used him a little bit, but he just doesn't offer enough as well. I mean, he's got a good pen on his S3, his AoE. I think they just need to buff him, but I want to see potential in the stance of, like, off meta in these units. He's not worse than some of these units on here, at least. So that's why I'm gonna put him on here, and he's better than some of these units. Actually, no, I can't put Melissa there. I'll just put Melissa in potential still. Teiyu. I've seen Teiyu play it out enough. I think Teiyu's fun. I think he's good in not RTA. He's good in like arena and like Guild Wars. In RTA, which is why I'm putting him only in potential. Like if this was in Guild Wars or Guild Wars or arena, you might put him in here. But in RTA, I might put here. In the end, he ignores effect reds and gets. I think he gets. I don't know if he gets pushed up. I think no, because his artifact does. He ignores effect resistance on his S3 when the enemy uses a non-attack skill. So it's kind of the same situation like Selene. People just hold their non-attack skill, which is why he's not amazing in RTA. On top of that, he doesn't do a lot of damage, but you can build him bulky and make a bruiser, which I do kind of want to make a bruiser of him too. I don't know. Do I consider Armin someone who isn't really seen enough? No, I can kind of see Armin being used here and there, so I won't put that in there. Same with Fire Ravi, actually. I'm gonna go look through these real quick. Fire Ravi, I've seen sometimes. I don't think I've seen like any of these other units really enough to put in there. Okay, yeah. Okay, my Lilibet. All right, so someone who knows me, I have 3 Lilibets. I have a speed Lilibet, a bruiser Lilibet, and a damager Lilibet. And I use my damager Lilibet a lot in Guild Wars. I use my bruiser Lilibet a decent amount in RTA. Sometimes I use speed Lilibet too. As someone she's been my favorite unit ever since I started playing the game. My honest opinion on her right now, first of all, if we were doing tier list in general of like what I would consider her, I would probably put her in like D if I was putting her in you know in actual RTA standards. Like consider like I wouldn't consider her the worst rank, but I would consider her really bad. As far as like off meta and like between all these units and these off meta units, I do want to put her underrated. I think that the big thing with her, Lilibet, what she really needs is built-in mitigation into her kit, because every other Libra warrior has some form of built-in mitigation or some like anti, any kind of protection they get at the start of the match. Like for example, Luna right here gets crit resistance and stuff. I think she gets defense buff when she's low health. Other ones like Rimuru, well Rimuru doesn't though. Rimuru is the only non like self mitigation Libra warrior as well, but he's one that could be built in full tank. But other ones like LQC does, How Do You Think has built-in evasion, so it's like she needs something. And other than that, her damage is perfectly fine. They do not need to buff her damage at all. What she need to do is give her built-in mitigation as some form, and give her a little bit more utility for the team, because right now no one wants to pick her, because why pick her? The only thing she offers is like her S2 S3 combo is decent when it works. Other than that, it's extinction. That's the only use you would ever have of her. But honestly, people are not even picking top model Luluka, and top model Luluka is way better than Lilibet. And then there's Milim, who is even better than all of them. So you need to give her some reason to be picked. So make her a bit tankier, so you can pick. You can do a bruiser style. Maybe give her a strip on her S2, or give her more. Make it less RNG on her S2, so she can S2 S3 easier. And I think she'll be picked. But I would say underrated just in general for off meta. Luluka, before Summer Luluka came out, I would have put her here, because I used her a bit before. She's fun as like a decent, like a 250 speed, like tanky support build that's there to quickly go in, give your team a defense buff and a barrier, and like be a really annoying fast barrier defense buff. But nowadays you can just use Summer Luluka and do the exact same thing while also being good in countering units too, with Ice Cream on top of it. So I kind of want to just put her in good now that she kind of lost her identity to herself. People are going to probably keep her in Earth Expo, so I don't think anyone's really going to be building her. I've always wanted to have her built though in RTA. I want to see potential, because I think she has the same stat line as Landy, so she could be built kind of damage, decent damage. She could be built with decent bulk. She's a ranger, so she could be built with Guardian Light, or you can go Bloodstone. She's actually one of the better Bloodstone units too. It's her and Landy are probably her, Landy, and SSB are the three like good Bloodstone units, I want to say. So I want to put her here, but I'll put her here though. I think she could be potential. Underrated here. Solid. It could be built as full speed. Speed Lilibet and speed Lulu. Try it again. Speed Luna is pretty good. Bruiser Luna is pretty good. I think she's a bit underrated. I think she used to actually be seen a bit, like a season or two ago. She was actually used, and then I think when the Violet started coming out, no one wanted to pick her because Violet. Cermia. Potential for sure. Yeah, potential. I have my Cermia built on a like 220 or 215 speed or something like that. It's okay speed with Ezra Comet. Surprise. They kill one of your squishy units. She surprises you by getting pushed up. Give yourself gab and then one shots a unit back. She can be very fun. Or I want to build her as a bruiser at some point. Build her tanky counter set and give her that E that gets the attack twice on the S1. Lilka. She's pretty solid in. I think she's good in one of the expedition. No, yeah, I think it's one of the expeditions. She's really good. I want to see potential. I think the big thing is I think she's 112 base speed. So she has solid base speed. She is a ranger, so she could use Guiding Light. She's a weird thing. Like she counters like ice units, or she has extra stuff happening when you hit an ice unit. ML Rin. 15% really screws her over. I want to say potential though, but everyone generally knows what she does and stuff. Katie Carissa, again, I want to see potential. I don't think she's underrated. Actually, wait, do I think? Because dual attacks with with the highest attack unit is really good. You know, I kind of want to say underrated, actually, because she can be built with high enough ER to like resist all these high effect res. Because like she's probably one of the units that definitely can like survive, you know, effectiveness Zeo or Power Captain Flan. She has enough ER probably to survive that. Or usually she's built with enough ER. I'm saying she's not hard to hit 300 ER with. Ram's kind of like a free version, I mean, during collab, of like Sage Vivian, but without the mitigation, because her S1's a soul burn, does it damage to everyone type of thing. I think she has potential. I'm gonna put her high in potential. I'm kind of semi working on a Berger Ram. Ort's what, 126 speed, but the problem with her is if you take any damage at all, because you have to have full health, you don't get your double attack on your ability, so it kind of makes her useless. So if you're not outspeeding with her, she's useless, like trash if she doesn't have that extra attack. So I kind of want to stay below average right now. Bologna, I kind of want to say underrated. I think she's underrated, honestly. 115 base speed that could build on a Guiding Light. Can CR push back the enemy team with the EE with a Death Break, and then you can build damage, or you can build counter. I think she's solid. Dizzy obviously, Dizzy's always gonna have potential to be used though. Unit that could be like one of the best last picks. You pick that last, you basically force your opponent to pre-ban it. It's such a strong last pick. Clarissa, outside of Wyvern, no one's really gonna pick her. I've played her a few times. I have her plus 15. I just recently plus 15 her actually, because I wanted to build her. I had her on Unity counter for a bit before I swapped it over to Gloomy Rain. I don't know if I have her built right now. I want to say I don't want to say good. She's kind of just waiting average. She's kind of just waiting for a buff. ML Kawana. You would think she would be potentially good because she gets CR push when the enemy dual attacks. She gets extra attack when the enemy dual attacks. Like, she's really good, and you would think she'd be really good into like Lilius and stuff. And Lilius is everywhere. She could be built with ER so she can counteract those, because you can also build her on, Strax Gauntlet. She gets I don't remember if she gets attack. She does cleanse and give barrier at least, I believe. I don't think she gets attack buff. Actually, no, I know she doesn't, because I had her on Rimmer Artifact for a bit. I want to see potential. She does when you compare it to some other units. Cirilla, what was that? 2 debuff strip into burn. Decent damage, can be built on pen set, or it can build high attack, burn. I've had a Bruiser Cirilla for a bit. I want to say potential. I don't think she's that bad. Now I'm going to say average, I think, now, because she's too slow. She's easy to get popped and stuff, and debuffs are kind of hard to pull off when you don't have depending on the comp. Kind of same with this. I want to say average. I mean potential. I almost want to put her here because she actually really good into Lua. Because if you think about it, Lua does, she resets the Cerise, and then Cerise becomes, Lilius basically. Her S1 becomes a dual attack, a guaranteed dual attack when she's reset. So I want to put her there if you're dealing with Lua, and you can be putting Guiding Light so you don't get slept. But kind of overall, I want to put her potential. Wanda, okay, Wanda it actually is good, very good. I'm put her on high potential, not very potential, but like I'll put her in here for sure. Very solid unit. Actually, I want to put her here. Actually, I think Wanda, people need to stop sleeping on her. She's a really solid unit. Deals with evasion units really well, because she can always hit evasion units because she has 70% hit chance. She always has Guiding Light basically, because she starts off with it and her S3 gets through that. So she's always going to be stealthed. I mean, not always, but she has basically, you don't need to put her on Guiding Light. Really good damage. She gives herself target, and I think, like I said, I think it's a 2-turn stun. By the way, it's a very solid unit. I think people need to build her for sure. What is this? Junie? Junie's a weird unit. I want to say high potential because what's holding her back is her base stats. I believe her S3 is like a focus or a fighting spirit based that when you use it, it cleanses all debuff through your team. I remember her having basically a Troublemaker Crowsette passive where you take the damage of the person in the back line. But the thing is, she's squishy as hell, so you don't really want to do that. It's weird though. Why would you put someone who has like 4,000 ish or 4,500 or it was like under 5k health and like maybe 550 defense? Why you want to make them be your mitigation tank, or your Arius holder? I mean, basically. I mean, I don't remember her damage being good either. So like, if she was tankier, I'd think she'd be fine. That's why I'm saying she's potential. She's just one's. And I can't put it. I'll put it here. I'll put high average. Because you're kind of waiting on her specialty change for her. Carmen Rose. I want to say high potential. I think she has pretty solid damage. She gets herself good debuff. Her S2 is like 60% CR pushback with a slow debuff, which is really, really nice on the S2. She heals on her S1. She has a full strip into unbuffable on her S3. She pushes up the highest attack unit, I believe it was, by 20% when you strip the person with the S3. 3-turn cooldown on both her S2 S3, so she has pretty low cooldowns. I think it's just her base stats are bad. That's literally all it is. She's slow and she has low base stats. Like her defensive stats. I mean, her attack is fine. So if you're able to get her really bulky, I think she'd be good. Actually, do I want to put her underrated or do I want to put her potential? I guess I'll keep her potential because you need to wait for a buff. And then these are units that I think don't necessarily need a. I mean, they do need buff. Everyone on these lists needs a buff. But these are units that are like. Actually, no. I'll put her here. Rin's fun. I'll put her here. Gives yourself, fun buffs and stuff. But there's a lot of strips going on now, so that's why I don't want to put her higher because there's a lot of strips going on now. There's a lot of ways to counter it. There's a lot of non-attack skills too. Misty Chain, average. Honestly, no. I mean, I think maybe you could be fine. Her damage is okay. She heals she heals allies on the S1 and S3, so it's nice. But her defensive stats is so bad, so it's like it's hard. I wanted to make a Bruiser Rage set Misty Chain at some point. It might work, but I don't know. Melanie underrated. Stun bot, it's decent chance to stun the S1. You can soul burn and make it 100%. If you soul burn S1 or you have S3 up, it's automatically crits, so that's good. Stigma, I don't remember what other debuff is. I think it's just Stigma, but it's still okay on S3, so you could build her damage. I have her on like 18k HP, 1800 defense with like decent effectiveness on how to Fiend's artifacts, so I made her, she's my stun bot, so I think she's fun. Oh yeah, plus she gets potentially damage reduction because she's like 25% chance to like cut damage in half. Katie's an RTA, yeah, underrated. If it was Guild War, actually no, even both, I would say underrated. I wouldn't say I wouldn't put her here, but I definitely think Katie's is actually a pretty good cleanser. You can build really high ER, really solid. I mean, she still ain't gonna be a better cleanser than like Holiday. She won't be. She definitely won't be a better cleanser than like Hand Guy or Dilibet, or other ones like maybe like Summer Lulica is still gonna be better. Destina better overall and stuff like that, but like she'd be pretty solid because she has a lot of heals too. Yuna, counter set Yuna for a good CR push. I could see her being good, especially if you can drag her out long enough to get her S3 off. She could probably do a lot of damage, and it's a guaranteed crit, so it'll be good against like ML Landy, assuming ML Landy didn't pop off against you. I want to see potential. Because, I mean, doesn't she get an EE that gives her speed buff too? Or speed imprint? So she's really fast. Lidica, I'm gonna put Lidica in the same spot. Like it's really the same thing. She has potential, but she gets screwed over by 15%. She's slower than Rin, but she does give herself. She is a ranger, so she could use Guiding Light. Karen, I would just say good. She's basically worse Biken, and Biken. Put that Biken right there because we're just talking RT. No, actually RT. I'll put a Biken in potential. Vivian. 3-turn immunity and attack buffs pretty strong. Can be built kind of fast. Give yourself a CR push. Very good with Dignus Orb. I'd say high potential. Penelope. Honestly, I put Penelope over here too. No, I think Penelope's kind of underrated. Hazel or Mascot Hazel. She's kind of like I'll see potential as well on that one. Unirung, I'm put her high potential because I think she just needs a specialty change. She's got pretty solid kitted self. Her stats aren't the worst either. I think it's actually pretty good. Speaking of that, Hazel I definitely will say underrated though. People have definitely started to pick up that she's actually pretty solid for sure. Ice Chloe. I've used her enough. Back in season 1 RTA, I used to play her with my Lilibet a lot. Like speed, not speed, just damage, like 220, 230 speed Chloe with a lot of damage back then. I would have said maybe she was high potential, but I'm going to put her in average now because ever since her last buff, they nerfed her as 3 damage. It used to be 3.5 scaling on a silver, now it's 3.0. And they did that because they want to make it, they're like, well, we're giving her damage in her we're giving her attack buff on her S2, so she's useful more in Wyvern, but it kind of killed her more in RTA. Potential because this is just a fun unit. SSA is someone you use, for fun or in very situational comps like with Kayron and stuff with ER units. Sonia, barrier heals. I believe that's low heals. I'm gonna just say good. Because now I want to see potential because she does give a huge barrier she heals a decent amount on her passive and she can give herself a good barrier and she gets attack buff, so it's pretty good, but she's slow. I want to see potential. I don't want to say what's this, Talez? Isn't this the debuffing one that gives unbuffable and I think something else? It's not really crazy. I'm gonna say average. Actually, no, I'm gonna say below average. Honestly, Mascot Hazel. Not Mascot Hazel. This is Gloomy Rain. Not Gloomy Rain. The other Banshee. This is Pearl Horizon. Pearl Horizon. I want to underrated potential. I see potential. I think she gets countered too much because a lot of units can just not get hit by sleep nowadays, or they're not someone you want to use AoE on, or they're just on immunity because you can't strip immunity with her. But she can be good in some very situational. Alexa, double attack, basically. I want to see below average. Is there anyone I would actually put in trash tier? Let me just see that real quick. Trash tier. Okay, well, in PvP standard, Kyrus is trash tier because you cannot really poison is useless as hell in PvP. So that's trash tier. Same with Nominus. I want to say Godmother, kind of also in trash. I was wondering, I looked at this tier, I'm like, I can't just have one person in here. Like, this is probably the people I would put in trash tier. Like, you ought to probably just put Azalea. So Azalea does Azalea does attack. She does a provoke. I think she heals on her S1, and she has Death Break. I think AoE Death Break on her S3, right? But it's 75% chance. She's kind of squishy. She's really slow. She's kind of useless. And same with this one, I want to put below average for you because Tieria, the thing with Tieria is why would you pick Tieria over Fire Shuri? Like that's basically the same thing. I mean, yeah, the only advantage Tieria has is you don't need a crit. I believe you don't need a crit for the CR push, but I mean that's not that bad. You can just, or and then you can also use Sasha's, on Fire Shuri. Fire Shuri actually has a bit more damage. So I want to, yeah. Other Tyria, I want to see potential. I actually had her build. I think I still do. I think I still do, yeah. She's not bad. I think what's holding Free Spirit Tyria is her attack is really low, so she definitely needs more damage. Other than that, I don't see potential. Momo, underrated as far as off meta units are, but I mean she's still gonna be trash when you compare it to other actual Soul Weavers. Wrecker and Roar, I definitely also put her underrated. Wrecker and Roar, 10% life steal to the whole team, heals everyone by 20% of their health when an enemy dies. Death Break on the S3 with a 20% CR push for the team, pretty solid. It's just that she needs a little more utility, and she needs higher base speed and higher bulk, and then she's really good. She's definitely a specialty change away from being good, from being a actual RTM unit. Gloomy Rain, high potential for sure, definitely. Same thing as Wrecker and Roar, I think, except for she needs a little bit more of that. But yeah, speed imprint that can hold book is easily like I think there's no way I cannot put her in potential based on the fact that she has a speed imprint and she can hold book. She's the only unit that can do that. So potential based off of that alone. The Celestial Mercedes. Kind of want to put her in potential. I use her a lot in Automation Tower. She's really good in Automation Tower because being able to. She's actually one of my favorite units to use in Automation Tower. She clears out the first 10-ish floors easily for you, so that you can go quickly start building up the all your buffs and start doing fun stuff. All right, Camila, 100%, super underrated. Definitely, I think I have her over Wanda, honestly. Speed imprint, 110 base speed, which isn't the worst, but has built-in mitigation on her in her passive. Gives herself attack buff and attack buff to the highest attack unit. Also gives S1 is a death break that forces a dual attack with the highest attack unit on your team if you have attack buff. Honestly, I'm surprised no one plays her because she is definitely one of the most underrated units, I think, easily. Mursa, definitely underrated as well. I wouldn't say very underrated. People kind of know what she does enough to use her. Maybe back in a few seasons ago, you would put her here, but there's a lot of evasion counters, so I kind of want to put her here instead. Ooh, Fire Maya. Fire Maya is also a really high, underrated, 112 base speed knight that can hold Arias. I have mine at 280 speed. That has a attack down and provoke on the S3 while also giving your team defense buff is really, really huge. I think that's one of the most loaded up S3s. There's not many units out there that I guess technically there's not too many units out there that have an ability that debuffs hits the enemy team and your team at the same exact time in the same buff. That's really huge. I mean, Conqueror Lilius does, but Rose, 100%, also I consider very underrated. People say oh, she's too slow. You don't have to build her fast. You build her 240-ish speed. She is the only knight in the game that has CR push and attack buff for your team. Outside of Penelope, not Penelope. Unirung has attack buff, but she doesn't CR push unless you proc her passive. Christy has attack buff for the team, but she only pushes up if you're getting hit when you're hit without a debuff on her. So they're situational. She's the only one that has an actual skill that CR pushes the team and attack buffs on a knight unit. That's what makes it really good. It's underrated, and it's 25% CR push on top of her S2 cleansing 2 debuffs and gives a barrier. I don't know why no one ever picks her. Because they think, oh, Rose, if you're not picking Rose at 270 plus speed, she's useless. No, she's your mitigation. You make her tanky 230-ish speed or higher, and then you just go and you just make her as your mitigation tank. She's so good. I think definitely put her over here. I don't know if I would put her over Camila as the most underrated like off meta unit. Shadow Rose, potential. I think what's holding her back is speed, maybe a little more utility, but give her a bit more speed. Make her. I don't know how you can give her more speed actually, but I think she's one buff away from being good though. I think also the fact that immunity screws her over too is bad. Yeah, let's do this. We'll go through this real quick. These two. This one, I want to say high potential. Because yes, this is even without like the Tamarine combo, she's actually pretty good. Because cleansing, resetting one of your allies is massive. So I think honestly, I think she has. I think she's high potential for sure. Sigrid, mid potential. I think she's very fun. Her S2 S1 combo is really good. I've had a Bruiser Sigrid build a few times. I've had a full damage 1 build before. She's pretty solid. She has good damage. She has extinction now. But actually, no, I'll put her underrated. Actually, kind of want to put her underrated because she's decent speed. She I think has the same stat line as Euphine, so she's 2-6. So she starts with a 165 crit rate. So honestly, yeah, I'd say she's underrated. Alexa, no one really uses her anymore, but I want now because she's just outclassed by everyone that also does the same thing she does. Ooh, I say she's also a kind of underrated. I want to put her in the underrated, but put her in the middle one because like she also has attack buff. She gives a speed imprint to your team. She also has like Death Break on both her S1 and S2. And she gets your team effectiveness buff, which is like there's not many units that do that. Not that effectiveness buff is really helpful, but it's there. I think she's a bit underrated. I wouldn't say she's like really underrated, but Blue Angie, I do have her on my Idol's Cheer counter set, so she can really push up an ally. If she counters, she can push up an ally by like 40% with one of her E's. I want to say potential midway because I've used her a few times. I've actually won a few times. I actually won sometimes with her too. Kawana, you can be built really, really fast. Kind of the same situation as like Gaither, but except for Gaither works with any unit. Well, Kawana only really works with fire units. So because of that, I want to say potential because I got to make her lower than Gaither. The only difference is like you can actually make her 300 speed. Whereas Gaither is kind of hard to hit 280 plus. So I'll put her there, just the fact that Rima, I'd say average. I don't think she's as trash as some people say. 3-turn reset's pretty strong actually. And she doesn't have as much like forced, water skills like some people think. Tamarine. Obviously, Tamarine, we will have potential if you're counting her, if you're expecting to use Iseria with her, but if you're not using Iseria with her, I'd say below average because I try to use her in, RTA without, because I built her, I used to have a, like, counter set, Butterfly Mandolin, bulky Tamarine, and there was a few times I did pull off her transformation. There's one time the enemy surrendered out of respect. They did the whole Ross thumbs up and then surrendered, even though they were winning that match. So I don't know if you count that as a win then for me, but so it's really hard. I definitely want to see below average. If you're okay, this one. All right, I'm gonna talk about the ones I don't have much to talk with. Surin, I'll say potential because high speed with speed imprint. Kali below average. I mean, once more fire bruisers come out that you can actually counter, I might put her in potential. But right now, what fire bruisers are out there that you can actually counter with her? Like Hoyang's not picked anymore. You don't want to hit Edward with it. You don't really want to hit Kayron. Maybe Kayron actually. I don't know. But like it's Fire Robbie and Charlotte are the two I can think of fire bruisers that might get picked enough to use this with. So it's like I'll say below average. Okay. This, I wanted to use her, but I think her base stats are just too low. Lena has what, 50%, 40 or 50% crit rate, I believe it was, so you can build her on counter set easier. She has really bulky stats. I think she's also a Libra warrior, so I want to say potential. I do want to build one at some point. I think she'd be fun because she does decent damage, I think. Okay, so these are the 4 I want to talk to real quick. Helen. Of the 3 Dragon Knights, I feel Helen is the weakest. And I think she's the one that needs the most buffs of the 3. Obviously, I didn't put Christy on here because Christy actually is good. People actually pick her. And I put Melanie up here because I think she'd be fun as a stun bot. Helen, I want to see potential, but there's just so much here to go for her. So these are the 3 units here. Okay, Riza, I have one built, but I haven't actually used mine yet, so I can't. On paper, I want to say she's underrated, but I never used her yet, and I have never seen anyone else pick her yet. So I want to say potential for now until I use her a few times. I have her built, I just haven't got a chance to use her. But I mean, as far as like giving an ally 30%, damage reduction against single target attacks, plus all that extra utility, on paper she sounds like she'd be underrated. I kind of want to put her there actually. I'll put her there actually. You know what? I will. So, Fire CC, definitely gonna be on either underrated or very underrated. I honestly think Fire CC is underrated, just underrated. I about to say higher underrated. Because you can build it really fast. Mine's like almost 270 speed. Can be built really fast. Has provoke plus immunity on the S3. Really solid. Can hold Arius. She's very, very good in Guild Wars. all these people who are building like winter or putting winters on Guild War defense. I'm like, okay, I just use Fire CC. Fire Cecilia just like can outspeed the Winter, give your team immunity, and then it doesn't matter who Winter goes for, because there's not many units out there that give immunity to your team off of a that is not a non-attack skill, and that can be outspeeding Winter. The only one I can think of would be Fire CC or ML Rin are the only 2 units that can like outspeed Winter and give your team immunity. Everyone else is like slower, like Last Rider Crowd is slower than Winter usually, and you don't really want to have a slower unit have a immunity on a non-attack skill, because then you just angry Winter, and Winter does it again. So she's very good into Winter on Guild War defense, assuming it's not faster than yours. I think she's very solid in RTA as well, especially when you build really fast and there's not as many counters into her. So that's why I'm putting her here. And then oddly, actually, definitely going to be up here as well. I don't want to put her here though, but I do want to put her here. 30% damage reduction against AoE is massive. She can be built really tanky. She actually has decent, especially because you can go decent speed, all bulk with some effectiveness. Her S3 is really, really good. It is a 40-something% CR pushback, plus 2 turn silence and 2 turn unbuffable. And the crazy part is like, since it's 2 turns, it counters AOL because AOL can actually be silenced. It counters hand guy because it's 2 turns. As well as like it's really good, and you can soul burn it to basically be a 1-turn cooldown for 10 souls. So if you soul burn it, it's up the very next turn. So you can do it again, soul burn, do it again, soul burn, do it again, soul burn. Just keep locking down units later on. And like I said, in worst case, she's still there for like 30% damage reduction against AoE for your team. So she's really good mitigation on top of it. I think she's 110 base speed. I think the only thing is her health is like only 4,800, but her defense like was 606, I believe, or something like that. So her defense is okay. Her HP being kind of low. I think the big thing is they need, if she gets a special change with a little bit more defense, a little bit more speed, and a little bit more utility, she would easily be an RTA unit that people will start picking for sure. But right now, I think she's just underrated. High up the underrated. I don't think she's like in the very underrated section. Yeah. Again, this is just for fun. As someone who actually plays a lot of these units, or who actually has played a lot of these units, or at least who has like theory crafted most of these units at some point. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest using any of these units anything higher than champion. Like, yeah, you can use these units in like champion. I wouldn't say use the units in emperor unless you're building a team around them. Maybe. I mean, like Hassel, yeah, I've seen you can pull that off an emperor for sure. You can pull this off an emperor, this off an emperor, sure. You can pull some of these off an emperor, yeah, but I wouldn't say in Rose. I still think it's underrated, so you pull that off too. But like, I wouldn't say like, oh, use this in like emperor or like legend. I'm like, I can see this being good in in champion for sure. A lot of these units here are just waiting, are definitely waiting for one buff, and then they'll be like, they might potentially be used, especially these units. It still surprises me. Like, I'm almost wanting to put this above Camila, but I can't, because Camila is just, I don't get why no one uses her for sure. Like, she is definitely the most underrated unit, I think, of like the units that no one uses. Like, why? Such a good unit. Anyways, that's my list of like off meta tier list of like units that I think that as far as RTA goes, right? So hope you guys. I don't think anyone sat through this whole hour and 15 minute, but if they did, that's my list. See you guys next time.